Hey, welcome to Entrenched. Thank you for seeing the How to Play video. I do not have any kind of studio to record this, so I'm doing this on the floor of my apartment. But nevertheless, I hope it will give a clear indication on how you can play Entrenched and what to expect of the game and if it is suitable for you. So, first of all, this is the basic setup of Entrenched. The goal of the game is to defeat your opponent. It's a two-player game, although if you have an extra set, you can easily play this also with 4 people. So the goal of the game is to get 9 points, or annihilate your opponent, or, which I have noticed so far in a lesser format, but it can happen, if the person cannot draw up to their max hand size anymore, they also lost the game. So that is how you win the game. So, how do you do this, and how is the setup? So, what you can see over here is that we have the red team and we have the black team. It is played with a 54 deck of cards in total. So you do have your clubs, your spades, hearts and diamonds. Outside of that, you have your trenches. So you have the red trenches and you have the black trenches, which are rated from 1, 2 and 3 on both sides. Outside of that, you have your starting units, which is the rifleman 2, the guard 3 and the rifleman 4. Else, what do you have? You have 3 different piles or decks. So you have your reinforcement pile, which is actually the units that you can bring into the field. So over here you have the other units, which is the 5 of guards, the rifleman 6, the vanguard 7 and 8, the shock trooper, the grenadier and the landship. And all of these have different kinds of stats, which I will get to in a second. Outside of that, you also have your draw pile, which consists of 1 to 4. These ones are darker, so it's easier to see which ones go on the field and which ones will be played in your hand. So you have 1, 2, 3 and 4, where the 2 of riflemen represents the 2 of the riflemen on the field, same with the 3 of guards and the 4 of riflemen. Outside of that, you also have the support card. That's the value of 1. The support card is a rather powerful card, sadly, or well, not sadly, but it has a rather low value. So, what the support card can do is that it can make any of your units do an action, or it also has the medic function. Any of your taken casualties that you have, you can actually return to your discard pile. But I'll get to that in a second. And the rest of the deck that you have is the same ones as I just showed you, with the 5 of guards and the 6 of riflemen. But I'd like to go a bit through it, so you have an idea on how the game is played. So, the other units that you can buy later on is, for example, you have your guard units. Guard units are rather powerful units, although they have a rather low value. So, what you can see on this card is you have the name and the type. So you have, this is an infantry unit. The name of it is guards. It has a range of 1 and 0, and it has a 5+ and a 4+. Outside of that, what does that mean? It means that whenever you're battling against your opponent, your range is how far this person can attack. So if it has a range of 1, and I'm just gonna show you now. So for example, we have our guard over here, and the opponent has a rifleman 4 over there. This means that it's a range of 1, it's 1 row away. So that means that I can choose to play this card and to attack. But that means that I have to throw a 5 or higher on the dice. So if I throw a 6, the unit will be killed. If I throw a 5, the unit will be killed. But if I throw a 3, the unit is still alive and I missed. Once you're on the same row, then you are in close combat, then of course you usually have a higher chance of killing a unit. So, what else can your units do? That is the attack part. You can use this card to move, so you can move your unit 1 up or 1 down, although up will very likely be the most common way to go. And you can also defend, which means that your unit will go into defensive position, so you'll move it sideways. And when it's sideways, you increase the die roll by 1. So for example, with the range of 5, where before I was stated I need to throw a 5 or a 6, now you can only throw a 6. Outside of that, every unit also has an ability. I hope you can see it clearly, which is stated underneath it. So for example, the guard unit, is impassable by other infantry. So another infantry unit cannot pass the guards. And this is rather powerful because the point of this game is to get points. And you do that by entering opposing territories. So you have to get 9 points in total. And once a unit is in your territory, they will get points for it. And it doesn't matter if it's dead or alive. So if the unit has been taken casualty, you'll move it to the side. So for example over here, even if it's short, but you still will get 1 point for it. That's also where the medic card comes in handy or unhandy, because it could be that you have a very powerful unit at the opposing line of 3, and then you still would like to use it, but then you would also lose your points. Outside of that, you also have the riflemen, which have a range of 2 in total, so it can shoot 1 further, but it has rather low firepower in total. So yeah, outside of that, it can also move, defend, and attack. And as a special ability, when it's on opposing territory, then you can decrease the die roll by 1. So that normally would attack, for example, with a 5, it now would attack with a 4, which makes it rather powerful in opposing territory, but not that powerful on your own side. Outside of that, you also have the Vanguard. This is practically your bulwark to push further. It has a range of 1 and 0, and a 5+ and a 3+, which makes it rather powerful. And the most important aspect of it is that it can actually move in defensive position, while other units cannot move in defensive position. You have 2 of these units. So you have the Vanguard 7 and the Vanguard 8. Outside of that, you also have your Shock Trooper. And your Shock Trooper, what makes it rather powerful is that every time it moves, it can also attack. So you could inflict heavy casualties, but of course it is also a rather fragile unit, since you would like to move it very quickly up to the rows. And as the last few units, you have the Grenadier, which is a 10, which also has a range of 1 and 0. But outside of it, it has anti-armor. So since there's an armored unit in the game, the Landship, this is the only infantry unit that can take out the Landship. Outside of that, it has as an ability that it can attack again once again after a successful attack. So you could quite destroy an enemy line with this, which is not unimportant. Outside of that, you also have officer cards. You have the Lieutenant, which has marksmanship. With marksmanship, you decrease the die roll by 1 whenever you're attacking with your units this turn. You have the Captain, which makes you can use the move function twice this turn, and also you have the Major, which you can attack twice this turn. These are rather powerful units, powerful cards, because they're not units, they do not go on the field. So be aware on what you're going to do, because it could clutter your deck. That's the whole part of this game, to have the right amount of economics to push you further, but once you have too many units, you do not know who to give orders to, and this can clutter your deck. And as last but not least, you have the Landship. So the Landship is rather strong. It also has a range of 2 till 0 with rather good firepower. As I stated before, this is a 54 deck of cards. So you do have the Jacks, which is 11. You have the Queen, which is 12. The King, which is 13. And the Ace, which is 14 in this game. So, just to give you an idea on how the game is being played. I moved just the units back, and to give you a bit of an idea, so you have your draw deck with your 1, 2, 3, and 4 cards in here, and the opponent has the same. So the one that starts is the least experienced player, or just flip a coin. And what you do is you draw 3 cards. So this is my hand right now. So I have the 3 of cards, the 4 of riflemen, and the support cards. So what am I going to do? So within the turn, you have different sequences that you go through. So first you have the action phase, so you can use actions on the card itself. So for example over here, I do have the support card, which has a very low value. So I am going to use my support cards to move my guards 1 forward. What do I still have left? I still have the 3 of guards and the 4 of riflemen, and I am going to use this, and I'm now going to the buy phase. I am going to discard these 2 to buy the Vanguard 7, since it adds up in total to 7 points. So the amount of points at the top is how much you can buy. So now I have the Vanguard 7. I put this in the discard pile. I still have one card over here. I grab that card, so, sorry, actually, I'll go first to one other part, which is the merge phase. After the buying phase, you have the merge phase, and you can merge 2 of the same units with the same name. So, for example, I have a 2 riflemen and a 4 rifleman here, so I am going to merge these. From now on, I can use the same card, so I can use the 2 rifleman or the 4 rifleman to move this as one unit, which makes it a lot stronger and easier to push further. At the end of my turn, I can also discard any cards that I like and put them in the discard pile. And then you draw up to 3 cards, your max hand size. So, I draw the 2 riflemen. And what I do now, because I do not have any other cards left, I grab my discard pile, I shuffle my discard pile, and I grab the 2 remaining cards. So, now I have the 2 of riflemen, the 3 of guards, and the 4 of riflemen. But now it's the opponent's turn. So, the opponent's going to start. We're going to grab 3 cards. So we have the 4 of riflemen, the 3 of guards, and the support cards. So what are we going to do? We noticed that my opponent was getting the 7 of vanguard. So they very likely want to push a bit further. So what could be a very good possibility for me to do is also or buy the vanguard, which I think I might well do just out of convenience of it. I could also buy an extra guard to make sure that I become a bit more impassable, at least to hold up a bit of the time. But nevertheless, I'm going to buy the vanguard because it is a bit more convenient. And I buy the vanguard 7. I use this card to also move my guard 1 forward, and I grab the 7 vanguard out of the deck. So also I am going to merge the rifleman. So now is my turn again.